Hello, ladies. How are you guys? Today, thank you for joining me today and taking that action to be taking care of yourself. Moving forward with that first step that you want to empower yourself during the stage of menopause. So, today I would like to share you how you can thrive while you are in this state of menopause. So, that being said, I just want to share my slides with you so that we can talk about that. And if y'all have any questions, please put in the comments and then I will be able to answer that, if not now or later on in the presentation. Today, I would like to talk to you about embracing change and navigating through menopause with confidence. My name is Rajita Bamakanti, registered nurse, faith-based holistic coach, culinary coach, and national board certified health and wellness coach. I am here to help you understand what menopause is about and how you can thrive during this menopause state. Menopause hits very hard and it just comes all of a sudden. Overnight, our body doesn't feel like the one you know and love anymore. You're battling new symptoms and maybe also gaining weight, losing endurance and strength, or taking longer to bounce back from workouts that used to be very easy. The things that have always kept you fit and healthy seem to stop working the way it used to. And why am I here saying all this to you? Because that was me. That was me. I have gone through menopause symptoms and went to several providers. I didn't know what was going on with my body. I knew how I live, my lifestyle, because I practice what I preach, living, in a content state, constantly, eating plant-based meals, exercising, being active, managing my stress. I've been doing all of that. And then boom, all of a sudden it's like, what is happening to me? I didn't know. And I started going to all the different doctors, in network, out of network, and paying out of pocket because I just wanted to know what's going on with me. But nobody could tell me what was going on. They looked at my lab work, they said everything was fine. I was told to just cut calories, exercise some more and some more, and then I got prescription for antidepressant. So, that being said, I'm just like, okay, this does not make sense. Something else is wrong with me. What they are saying, I cannot believe. So that's when I put myself into research, digging into the research and looking at several research papers and reading several books. And that's when I said, okay, I am in postmenopausal state and started making my lifestyle changes that is more appropriate for this state of my life. So I am here because I want to help you look and feel better using evidence-based lifestyle interventions in making behavioral changes one step at a time, in improving your health and well-being. So by the end of this presentation, you will be able to empower with knowledge and life skills to make effective behavioral changes that address the underlying root cause of your symptoms. I'm doing this because I am focused on helping women thrive during this state so that every woman can live a vibrant life. And also, I just want to share a disclaimer that this is not medical advice. You need to contact your physician for your individual medical treatment plan. I'm sharing lifestyle modifications that you can start right away, that have helped me and that are all backed up by research. So, menopause is still a huge stigma. If you have, gone through several different providers and went to the fitness trainers and coaching, looking for information about menopause, you won't find it. There's a lot of silence around menopause, and it's still there's a lot of stigma around menopause. If you recall, even before you hit menopause, there has been several periods of times where you felt really draggy on certain days of the month. It was not because of your fitness level, but due to the changes in your physiology. Just because your periods are irregular and slowing down, that does not mean that you have to slow down too. As a woman, we go through puberty. If you recall those times during puberty, you're sweating, you have brain fog, you have mood swings, your body composition is changing, and you have trouble sleeping. You know, we don't consider as bad at that time. And how about the next phase that we women go through, pregnancy? During pregnancy, you have that hot flashes, depression, right? So the same thing. Again, go through that starting with the perimenopause phase. During perimenopause, you have lots of hot flashes, mood swings, sleep disturbances. The symptoms during perimenopause are worse. That's when the transitioning is happening. We are on the other end of puberty when these hormones are starting to wind down, but we associate this with downfall. Is that fair? So, how we view aging culturally and socially influences how we view it personally. Think about this. How are you going to view this? Those combined views have an impact on how you actually experience menopause. Yes. 2018 study published in Alexandria Journal of Medicine found a significant and direct relationship between a woman's attitude towards menopause and her body image and the risk of depression. So, reject the negative connotation about menopause. It is something every woman experiences it. It's just a transition. We can lean into this and push through as we enter a different phase of life that is full of meaning and wisdom. Who in here is ready for this? Comment in the comments below. Say, uh-huh. So, with this being said, you're ready. So, with the right training and nutritional lifestyle strategies and the power of the mind, you will be able to thrive. When you understand what is going on in your body, you will be able to take concrete action to minimize the most disruptive symptoms that will come with the hormonal fluctuations of the menopause years so that you can feel and perform your best. So, as I am sharing this information, let's just play a game. If you relate to any of the symptoms or any of the things that I am sharing here with you, comment in the chat. Aha, that yes, you connect to this and you relate to this. So, perimenopause is the transition during which you go through from a regular cycle of 25 to 40 days, lasting 3 to 7 days, to a very inconsistent cycle. You can miss periods or have very heavy periods. So for a few months, you can go without any periods, then your period starts coming. Perimenopause can start as early as 36, but usually around 45. African American women tend to start the transition earlier than the people of other races, and also last for about 10 years compared to the other races. So, that being said, let's look at the hormones. Women hormone changes. Why does this happen? The sex hormones that have orchestrated a rhythm of your cycle. It's been constant, nice, good rhythm going on since you hit puberty. And now the constantly changing changes have happened since then. The primary drivers of the hormones are estrogen and progesterone. During your premenopausal years, your ovaries secrete estrogen to thicken the lining of the uterus and as the egg matures inside. So, estrogen reaches its highest level during the second week of your 4-week cycle. Your ovaries secrete progesterone after the egg follicles burst open and rejects the egg during ejects that egg during that ovulation, which peaks between weeks 3 and 4. Together, estrogen and progesterone are the primary drivers for getting your body achieve and maintain your pregnancy. That's that pregnancy phase. During the years leading up to menopause, the number of eggs in your ovaries decline and not releasing the eggs like a clockwork every single month. So as they're declining, they don't do that every month. Your body is still ramping up estrogen to plump up that uterus lining that's within. But in a month, when the mature egg isn't released, there's no progesterone. So you have an imbalance here of too much estrogen and too little progesterone. And the next month might be normal and the following month not. So that fluctuation goes on all the time. So these imbalances can lead to estrogen dominance, which can trigger a host of symptoms, including headaches, mood swings, and more. The hormonal fluctuations can last up to 10 years, but they're generally felt most of the symptoms during 4 to 5 years before your periods stop for good. That's right before menopause. And a lot of them say, how about testing for menopause? It's normally not recommended. You can go for a blood test, right? Today you go for a blood test, and then that's when you see like a fluctuation. The estrogen and progesterone, estrogen is too high and then there's too little progesterone. And then tomorrow you go back for another blood test. Same test you're doing, everything could be normal. Everything, all your estrogen, progesterone could be normal. So it's very confusing. So blood test is not usually recommended. That's by symptoms That's how you will be able to tell by the symptoms that you are in perimenopause, menopause, perimenopause if you're still having irregular periods. So that's how you'll be able to tell. What is menopause? Menopause is the day of our periods that end. It is that specific point of that day. You know, 12 months, for 12 months, you have not had your periods. And then that one day in your life is that menopause day. And then after that, you're in postmenopause. The average age of menopause is 51. So postmenopause is rest of your life. Contrary to the popular belief, you don't completely stop producing estrogen after menopause. Women make three types of estrogen: estrone, which is E1, estradiol, E2, and estrol, which is E3. Estradiol is the main female hormone that you make over the course of your reproductive life. This form of estrogen that flatlines completely during menopause. The lack of estradiol is the main driver. Estradiol is that E2 we talked about. Throughout this presentation, whenever I say estrogen, it's primarily we are talking about the estradiol. For many, that's the main driver that has many, many issues. That's the driver for that increase in heart disease. When you have the decline, your body releases that E3. We talked about E3 estrol. That's only released during pregnancy, and then the rest of the time it's not detected in your body. So what are these symptoms? If you can share in the chat, if you have any of those aha moments, please share in the chat. You may be thinking, right? Wait, what happened to me? All of a sudden, I am not able to lose the weight. I did, same things. I have not changed my lifestyle. All of a sudden, I see this fat accumulating all of a sudden. I feel like I'm pregnant. And that's when you are like, okay, I was able to get into lean body very easily. Whatever I did, I cut calories, exercised more, and I was able to fit in. Now, all of a sudden, it's very difficult. So when it comes to activity and nutrition, that has worked so very well for you just isn't working anymore. This is when you begin to feel those inherent changes that people talk about as menopause, you start having. Some of these popular ones, most of them talk about is those night sweats, and then putting on that belly fat, and loss of the lean mass. You do not feel strong anymore. You have no energy. The closer you get to the actual cessation of menstrual periods, the worse it gets, the worse symptoms get. So all this is happening because of that hormonal ratio, the fluctuations, the changes that are happening within you. The hormones are primarily like the messengers in our body, which are communicating with nearly every single cell in our entire body, telling them what to do. When those signals weaken, the result can be metabolic chaos, like body composition changes, poor insulin sensitivity, hot flashes, mood swings, disrupted sleep, and poor energy levels. During this stage, when you step in and take action to mitigate the effects, then you can really have a profound effect. So, are you ready for that? After menopause, your body is primarily making estrone that we had talked about earlier. That is that E1, which is far weaker hormone than estradiol, which is E2. So at this point, your ovaries are producing very little estrogen, and most of the estrogen that you are creating is estrone. So, which is generated from that fat tissue, the fat deposits that we have in places that you don't want them to, right? Excess estrone produced by fat tissue can cause some women to experience hot flashes and night sweats for 20 or more years. It's a long time. Research shows that having a greater percentage of body fat increases your chances of having vasomotor symptoms like hot flashes, sweating, and heart palpitations. If you have excess fat, especially the visceral fat, losing weight can help. That's what the research shows. Estrogen receptors are alpha and beta. We have two estrogen receptors that are group of proteins that are found inside our cells. These receptors are activated by the hormone estrogen. Think of estrogen receptors like a lock, and then you have estrogen hormone like a key. So you need a key to unlock. So there is that key missing. So that is, you can relate to that, but why this is happening when you think about it that way, right? Estrogen receptors are beta, right? And has shown to have a key regulation of this immune response in our body, known as inflammasome, and also is involved in regulating our neural mitochondrial function. So estrogen and progesterone work very well together to control our inflammation. Depending on the kind of estrogen, either it's estrone or estradiol, can be anti-inflammatory or pro-inflammatory. Estrone is primarily pro-inflammatory. Estradiol is anti-inflammatory. Progesterone is anti-inflammatory. So your hormones work in concert to keep that inflammation in check. So higher unchecked estrone with the declining estradiol and progesterone can cause that systemic inflammation. So it is pretty much all around inflammation is brewing in our system. So mitochondrial function, what is mitochondria? Mitochondria are powerhouse in the cells that turn that fuel into energy. Whatever fuel that we are consuming, that turns into energy. So whenever we use oxygen to burn fat and produce energy, you release free radicals that damage healthy cells. Estradiol keeps that mitochondria to, it takes the estradiol comes and just sweeps out all that free radicals out of there. So without its help, you will have this free floating free radicals in your body. By training and nutritional support, you will be able to help eliminate those free radicals. So that's why it's very important to shift into that new lifestyle, as we'll be talking about now. How about our bones? How is that helping? The estradiol, that E2 we talked about, helps increase calcium absorption and regulates bone overturn. And, like that turnover constantly happening, and that density. The bad stuff goes off and the new stuff comes in, builds in. Estradiol is critical to maintain that bone density and the strength of your bones. After 50, women, when estradiol goes down, and their rate of arthritis increases rapidly because every muscular skeletal tissue has estrogen, alpha, and beta receptors, which are little baskets in which estrogen sits and then flows down. So when the basket is empty, you do not have any estrogen in them, the cartilage matrix weakens and softens the cartilage, which deteriorates much faster. So for tendons and ligaments, without estrogen, they become more brittle. Bone has to have a balance of building and then breaking it down. If we are only building, then our skeletal muscle gets very heavy and then we cannot move. If we are only breaking it down, then it becomes so weak that we won't be able to hold up. So, with the loss of estrogen, the balance is off and we break down more than we build. Bones have also this electrical circuit in them. So, what helps with that? Because that electrical circuit is there, jumping action is the one that stimulates the bone pathway to allow the minerals to be laid into the bones. Here we don't have that estrogen to help with that. So, by doing that jumping, that's what will help lay that bones. So, work on balancing. Balancing, how is that? Some simple things like while you're brushing, try to stand on one foot every day so that you build that balance act. Box jumping, skipping. These are the things that are recommended at least 3 times a week for about 10 minutes each time. So that will help little stimulate that. Have you known any of these elders? They go, oh gosh, my bones are very brittle. I have knee pain, joint pain all over. I am getting old. But can you just accept that you're getting old? Yeah, you are getting older. But yes, you can empower yourself. But these are some of the things that you can do to build your bone strength. So also the changes in your hormone balance also affects, a whole lot more. We talked about it affects everything, right? They help conduct the symphony of our entire mental, physical, and emotional well-being all over. So estradiol, that is the key player in this, in whole host of metabolic functions. As estradiol is declining and progesterone is also declining, but they're not declining at the same rates. It's each one is doing its own thing. Estradiol helps drive the development of deep muscle. Without it, your muscle mass, it declines. And estradiol also helps the development of that lean muscle. So it's the development of that deep muscle and also that lean muscle. Without it in your body, it's not as good. It's not building that muscle in your body. So I'm sure you're sensing that weakness in you. You can sense some of the muscle loss that you're having. So estradiol is the one that assists the muscles to contract. Without it, the stimulus for muscle contraction is gone. Estrogen is the one that's responsible for stimulating the muscle cell to grow and develop. Also, it's responsible for the two proteins, that is actin and myosin, to come together to cause that muscle contraction. Estrogen is the one that's responsible for how strong that myosin attaches to that actin to contract. So when that estrogen levels are varying, right, slowly, sometimes they're dropping, sometimes they're high, depending on what stage you're in, the muscle is not stimulated to contract. So the contraction is off, it's off balance, and that's when the women don't feel strong. They feel very weak. So during the shifts and changes of the hormone, your body composition is changing. And also, you know, people are saying, okay, what's happening to me? Then they go for exercise more, longer exercise, and then start eating less, cutting calories, trying on all these fad diets, which is not going to work because it's not about the metabolism. It's about the strength of contraction of your muscles. But, the strength of the contraction is also what we just talked about. It depends on those hormones, how they are affecting the basic cell of the muscle fiber, how your body is responding to glucose, how insulin is responding. So we really have to pause here and look at for that external stress, primarily through exercise, that is going to cause the body to respond in a way. These hormones can allow the body to respond to contract and get stronger. But as we are hearing, as we are aging, we say, oh, you should not be doing hard type of exercises. So these are the ones that you hear these myths, right? And also, what's our standard recommendation, the well-known recommendation of 150 minutes of moderate exercise? That's the kind of stress, when we do that, it's not enough to invoke that change for that muscle contraction. When we do 150 minutes of moderate exercise, that's not stimulating our muscle contraction. So we need to do something more than that. We'll be talking about it now. And how about the connection to our heart? Estradiol helps regulate the nitric oxide that works to expand your blood vessels for a better blood flow. With the loss of estradiol, there is no compliance. The compliance is less. So this can cause your blood pressure to creep up, which in turn can cause serious health problems like heart attack, stroke, atrial fibrillation. Some women may also experience dizziness when they stand up too quickly. So also, you have increased risk. All of a sudden, your labs were fine. Now, what's happening when you check your labs? That shows decrease in your HDL levels, increase in triglycerides, and then increase in LDL levels. These are the changes that's all happening with that imbalance of your hormones. Studies have shown that statin use for that high cholesterol that's being prescribed, especially high doses in postmenopausal women, can also increase the risk for diabetes. So can you connect any one of these things that we have talked about? Let me see that in the comments. I might not be seeing all your comments as I'm presenting, but I will get back to you guys on that. So what's the other thing that's happening? Insulin resistance. Estradiol promotes insulin sensitivity. And it also regulates the GLUT4, which is a glucose transporter, which pulls the glucose into your cells, even without insulin. So as the estradiol is diminishing, it's receding down, then you become more insulin resistant. All of a sudden, again, your lab work is showing you're pre-diabetic or diabetic. So resulting in that's that fatty storage that you have in your body that's depositing everywhere. So what's happening? That's where it gets pulled in. That glucose is being pulled into that fatty cells and to get it out of circulation instead of into your cells for energy. So what about this oral health? I never knew that about this oral health. As I was researching, I found out about this in postmenopausal women. Alterations of oral cavity are related to that hormonal alterations, reduced saliva production, increased tooth decay, the gum disease, jawbone density, and tooth decay, receding gum lines. These are all related to that. So you need to work with your dentist on that, how to address these issues and how you are going to keep that oral health healthy. Hot flashes, we hear about this a lot, right? Controlling our body temperature. So estradiol is the one that is the main driver for maintenance of our body temperature. Like, however, the blood flow, the way our blood is flowing through our skin and sweating, the main driver for that is that estradiol. So when estradiol declines, we lose that consistent temperature control. Your brain overreacts to these changes and thinks that it's too hot, right? When it gets too hot, even when it's not. So it's telling your body to release that excess heat by widening, of all those blood vessels. And then some fluid also comes out through your skin. That's when it evaporates, right? The skin, that's when you are sweating. So that is that mechanism estradiol is doing. It's whenever it's too hot, it's cooling you down by widening and then releasing of that sweat to evaporate and cool you down, and then feel shivering due to that drop in temperature. Research shows that loss of estrogen, the reduced also the density of serotonin receptors, decreases the serotonin activity, which contributes to the hot flashes and night sweats. So, again, as I was saying, it's not just about estrogen and progesterone, it also affects all the other hormones too, right? So, hot flashes are more of a neurotransmitter related brain and brain health related activities. It's the hypothalamus, it's very, very sensitive to our internal body temperature and the appetites. So, with that receding estrogen and serotonin is not being produced as much, and the serotonin, it's a countering norepinephrine is its partner. So norepinephrine is hanging out without its partner serotonin. So because serotonin is not there, so now your hypothalamus is perceiving that there's a threat and then saying, oh gosh, there's a threat, I need to speed myself up, right? That's what we do whenever there's a threat, we run away from that. So that's what is happening internally. Sometimes, that's when it says, okay, let me have this heat, that hot flashes go up inside. And once that intense heat builds up inside our body, then that hypothalamus is saying, I'm too hot, I need to cool down. Then you get that shivering effect of cooling down. That's that mechanism that's happening with that hot flashes and colds. Hot flashes are just not benign as you think, oh, it's just hot, it will go away. But it happens, it's really in your brain. And with the decline in estrogen, the thermostat is broken and the body cannot cool that, you know, cool you off as easily because the sensor is broken. So women have this severe hot flashes, and the lasting ones, even after the hot flashes have stopped, they are connected to the cardiovascular disease and depression, anxiety. So, for some of them, it lasts as long as 10 years. So understand they are not benign. So get treatment for that. They are not done. Once you stop hot flashes, it's not done. The brain is going through a lot of changes. like remodeling that's happening. So you need to keep that brain health, in check. Stay active with that. How you can empower your brain health. Evidence also shows that estrogen decline during menopause transition drives that. We talked about how that systemic inflammation goes on right earlier. So the pro-inflammatory cytokines and the increased um, availability of inflammasome protein in central nervous system and pro-inflammatory environment in our body is more susceptible to women's risk for brain damage, for ischemia, and Alzheimer's disease. That's why you see quite a few women having dementia and progressing to Alzheimer's. Estradiol increases our serotonin and the density activity of the serotonin receptors in our brain. So as that serotonin receptors are untapped because there's no estradiol, and your brain is left wanting, which can lead to those erratic mood changes, irritability. We are saying, where did this come from? Why am I so irritable and restless and angry all the time? So this is the reason behind it. Estradiol is the master regulator of women's brain. Women's brain is very, very sensitive to estradiol, the changes it can have in you because of that estradiol changes. It is very, very neuroprotective, estradiol is, and that is the master conductor. So here you don't have that conductor or declining conductor. So that is what estrone takes over when estradiol is declining. But that is a very weak form of that hormone. So that tuning into that is very off. So, can you relate to some of these things that we are talking about here? So, I would really love to hear from you on that. How can you relate to these things, and what symptoms are you feeling? What can we do about these things? So, here I am sharing this slide from Dr. Lisa Mosconi, who investigated how menopause affects women's cognition using brain images. This is her image that she has used, how it affects women's brains. She tracked brain changes in women and learned that menopause changes the structure of the brain. It changes the metabolic activity in the brain, the energy levels, the connectivity, the blood flow, and the biochemistry within the brain. It's like a renovation project that's happening inside of you. That so many changes are happening in our brain. It is completely rewiring inside to prepare women for the non-productive stages of life, which is this perimenopause, menopause. These are associated with the brain fog, dementia. So as you can see, this image is looking at, one of the image before menopause image. That's the one that's looking at the brain energy, the way simple glucose is taken up and used as energy. She showed this image, Dr. Lisa Mosconi, of a 43-year-old woman before menopause that was very active, very healthy. She was looking at her brain, all that red and yellow colors, the brightest colors are full of energy, high energy brain right there. And the green shade is the low energy shaded areas. The blue is the fluid, which is normal. And then what she did was 8 years later, she took images of this lady again who transitioned into menopause. After the menopause transition, that's when she took the image. And as you can see on that after menopause, brain, If you notice, there's lots more of green and yellow after menopause. The red turned into yellow and yellow into green. And as this went through the menopause, so you can see the energy level has dropped quite a bit. It's a very dull looking image. Quantitatively, it's about 30% reduction in the energy level of this woman here. Stress is a big piece in this. Estrogen helps us control our cortisol level, the stress hormone. So when estrogen declines, the cortisol levels rise. We easily get triggered during these stages. Have you ever noticed that? I have. So, how do we manage our stress? Some simple activities, it might be simple for some it might not, but whatever helps you to keep you calm, stress free, keep you in the present moment, practicing mindfulness, meditation, breath work, connecting to nature, grounding, yoga, any type of relaxing activities, whatever you can do, how you can delegate some of your activities that you don't need to be. All of those are helpful in managing stress. Gut health is a huge piece in this. Research on menopause shows that female sex hormones and the gut microbiome, they are very much affect that low estrogen levels, which are associated with reduced gut microbiome diversity. The good, healthy gut is having a good diversity. So here the diversity is declining. The decline in estrogen and progesterone may lead to that permeability of your intestine, and that the barrier is broken down, and that's kind of called as that leaky gut. So there the guard is not there, so everything is going back and forth, the toxins and all of that, so there's no protection, because the barrier is kind of missing. So can you improve your gut? How can you do that? By combination of prebiotics, probiotics, fiber foods. So Dr. Stacy Sims says that there is a huge connection between parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system in order to regulate our gut. So if we are under a lot of stress, we talked about managing our stress, the cortisol level is high, and then the feedback loop of that gut changes, and the diversity of the gut bacteria also changes. So when this diversity changes, then that's when you are more prone to that leaky gut, bloatiness, any of these things that you have faced, some of these symptoms. So what can you do to get more into that parasympathetics? Eating more fruits, vegetables, feeding that gut, the bacteria that it really loves to thrive on, beans, legumes. So in postmenopausal state, what's happening is you're in this elevated stress level, and the changes in your eating habits will also increase the Firmicutes phylum, and that's the bacteria which is associated more with obesity and less lean mass. See how all of these are connected with one another. So whereas the other bacteria, bacteriotides bacteria, is associated with more lean mass and lower visceral fat and better hormone and neurosignaling to the parasympathetic. So with the menopause, the lowering of that estrogen, more stress, lowering of the energy levels in you causes the gut to have a big hit. To get into that parasympathetic state, you need to do whatever works for you, like meditation, breath work, vagal toning, eating a variety of fruits, vegetables, and these are the things that increase that bacteriotides, the good bacteria in you to keep you safe and healthy within. If we are always on this elevated stress level, that's when we gravitate. Have you noticed that for you? Whenever you're stressed, you want to eat something, satisfies you, the comfort foods that you say, you're gravitating to that processed, ultra processed foods constantly. So that's when your Firmicutes phylum rises. So we want to really downgrade those Firmicutes phylum bacteria that are not so healthy for us, for better body composition, for better mental health, for better health outcomes. Then that's when you can lean towards adapting, more of that healthier side of it. When you when you are constantly in this driven state of stress, you are driving yourself to that easy meals. It automatically happens. And then the bad bacteria go up and the good bacteria go down. So, what can you do? That's when the lean mass is losing more fat deposits. So, get into that state where you can shift that body composition, shift that gut bacteria to be more diverse by eating more fruits, vegetables, beans, legumes, variety of them, so that you can make a change in these mood swings and the dopamine and the serotonin levels. Yes, you can shift that. It's never ever too late to make a shift in that. Another thing, this, for most of the women, it's so embarrassing when you're out in public or even when you're in private, is that vagina is like so irritable. That area is so sensitive and irritable during the stages of menopause. How can you keep that vagina happy and healthy? What's happening is the estrogen, that's the one that's stimulating that tissue in there to keep it healthy, making sure that it's nice and thick inside that vagina line. Excuse me. So when that is missing, what's happening? It's becoming more thin. When that's missing, the moisture is gone, and then it's becoming very dry. So that's when I hear so many clients talk to me about, gosh, I don't want to have sex. Sex is very painful, and my partner is ready to give up on me, and we are about to break up. So I hear these things quite a bit from the clients that I work with. So that's, sex starts to hurt when you're going on a long hike, or cycling, running. It all hurts because of that missing estrogen, the dryness that is in. That's the one that causes irritability and constant irritation in that area. So, in order to invoke a response to building a lean muscle and maintaining and building our bone health, you need to invoke in response to serotonin and norepinephrine, which also helps with that hot flashes we talked about earlier, which are our vasomotor symptoms. So, to invoke a stress to change also our gut microbiome, because we see, when there is no estrogen, there is a decline in the diversity, especially in that late menopausal state. Even when you have been eating very, very healthy, it declines because the other things that you're going through, the stress. That's why this is directly attributed to that body composition shift that you are seeing now. So, how are we going to empower ourselves to move towards to thrive in this state of our life? It is through specific modalities of exercise. Women need to look at lifting heavy. Lifting heavy lifting heavy means heavy for you and heavy for me is two different things. So you have to see what's heavy for you, and creating that when you lift heavy, you are creating your central nervous system response. You're triggering that to contract. So because you don't have that estrogen, that contraction of that myosin actin, right? So here, by lifting heavy, that your external stress is causing that central nervous system. That's the what helps with that contraction of that muscle. So those are some of the things that you can do. This way of living is not a short term thing, but this is supposed to be for the rest of your life. Don't say by, oh, I'm holding like a 2 pounder and walking and all of that. When I am talking about heavy, heavy means heavy. But it all depends on where you are now. If you are don't lift now, cannot be going into the gym tomorrow and start doing it. You first need to learn to balance. So as I was saying, lifting is very, very relative to each person. So don't be going and starting lifting heavy. First, you need to, if you have not used to lifting, you need to learn to move first. Learning squatting, how to balance, and standing on single leg, jumping, box jumping, and that's how first you build that endurance balance and work with a trainer, because you don't want to hurt yourself. You want to, especially at least for few, work with the trainer, work with what's appropriate for you and your posture. Once you know how to move well, then add a load of lifting weights. Start with 3 reps of lifting very heavy and up for 5 cycles. So by the 5th cycle, you are so tired, you won't be able to lift anymore because you're lifting that heavy. That's the ultimate goal. When you are gradually doing it, that's the ultimate goal I'm talking about, not right away when you're not used to lifting. So this way you are telling our nurse to recruit the muscle fibers quickly to be able to lift that load. So you're asking that central nervous system, that's what is coordinating to be able to lift and coordinate. It's happening through the central nervous system. Instead of that estrogen telling that myosin and actin to come together to contract, we are using the nerve response to build the muscle strength. Without that, the hormonal influence, you can still do that. This research has been done very well by Dr. Stacy Sims, who advocates on this lifting heavy, which works very well. The research is based primarily on women because we need to focus on the women's research. For those women that have never lifted, most of the myths we had is, oh, I can't lift, I don't want to be bulky. We will not be bulky just by lifting. You're not going to be in the gym all day and consuming tons of protein all day. So this is just to improve your strength. So the more muscle improvement you have, the more strength you build, you will have improved insulin sensitivity, better gut health, and also shifting of the body composition. And then you will look better. You will be so much stronger you will feel strong, physically and mentally. So you can even do this at home. You don't have to go to the gym. Start with simple dumbbells and kettlebells and use a backpack. Fill it with heavy stuff. Use the backpack. Use a vested waist to, when you're taking a walk, use that weighted vest when you're taking a walk. Another thing you can also do is about 30 minutes of HIIT, which is 30 minutes, which is including the warm up and the cool down. So as you are, let's say you're on a treadmill or something, go really slow and then ramp up your speed for about 1 to 4 minutes. Get your heart rate up to about 80% of your max, and then come back down to slow it down for a recovery of about 50% of your heart rate down to it, rest, and then pick yourself up. But don't do it longer than 30 minutes, because when you do it for a long period of time, for about 45 minutes or so, you're exerting that heart rate, keeping it elevated up there. When you are constantly at that high flow, that is that moderate intensity it goes in, that's when your cortisol gets triggered up. When you're doing these little things going up and down, you're just doing that spike of that cortisol, bringing it up, which is good, and then are bringing it down, so you're not keeping that steady high. Because in perimenopause state, your sympathetic drive is constantly high up. So you want to try to bring that down. So you don't want to keep, your baseline cortisol is already elevated, and you don't want to stay elevated and then stimulate that, triggering that inflammation within you. So also it triggers, residual inflammation, and that bloating, unable to sleep, all of that gets triggered when your insulin level stays up high and your cortisol level stays up high. So by exercising this way, you will be able to rebound that response after the exercise too, where you can reduce that cortisol level when you're just by going up and down. So the cortisol level is able to come down real easily, and it increases your growth hormone, your testosterone, and decreases the abdominal fat. So then you will have a better body composition and the better strength in you. I'm able to, before I could not, open those tight lids and all, I'm able to lift. The other day I was traveling, a guy came to help me. I was able to take my suitcase up from the top down. He was like, wow, you're pretty strong. So that makes you feel good, right? So that also increases your parasympathetic, drive, keeping you nice and calm, have a better sleep. So that's what this way of exercising helps you, staying calm and steady, stronger, and keep your gut health healthy. So eating enough, we don't eat enough most of the time. Women tend to cut calories, and that we have been doing that most of our lives, right? And especially when this body composition is shifting, you're cutting more, even more, because you're not able to lose weight, and we are getting into all of these fat diets, and then you don't have enough energy when you do that to maintain the body's hormonal function. And when you have too little energy, then you are not meeting the body needs. So the energy level is dwindling, and your hormones don't function properly when your energy levels are dwindling, and your thyroid function and the bone formation, all of this starts to get disrupted when you eat low energy foods, not enough. Just 4 days in low energy availability will disrupt your thyroid hormone, your bone density, all of that. So too long in low energy causes extreme fatigue. You're not able to move, the disruption of that thyroid. So don't do that. Eat good quality food. So again, fueling yourself very well. So eating mostly plant-based foods that are close to natural as possible. Vegetables, beans, legumes, whole grains. It's not about the number of calories, it's about the quality of calories. These are high fiber foods that are good for your gut microbiome and are lower, they don't cause inflammation like the processed foods. So high levels of antioxidants, and also are lower risk for cancer, diabetes, heart disease. So make sure to include at least 30 to 40 grams of fiber each day. And most of the time, eat a variety. Variety is good. Try new foods, challenge yourself. each week to try something new, and keep it sustained. Your taste buds will change every 2 weeks, so don't worry, you will start to like these foods if you just give it some time and be kind to yourself. So the timing is also very, very helpful. Research shows that especially postmenopausal women do not need their daily protein intake. There is plenty of protein in plants, so don't worry about that. You don't have to go to the animal products to eat protein. It is not about the total number of calories. It's about what you eat. The quality is what matters, and what time do you eat. The timing also matters. Eating at the right time will help you reestablish that connection to that energy level we talked about. What you consume gives you that energy, and how you release that energy during exercise, that also gets into that safe space, where you are not too moody, and you're able to recover fast. Your performance improves, and you have good energy levels available to you throughout the day. So how do you eat this? The timing is consuming 15 grams of protein before you go for your training, before your workout, and 30 grams after the workout, and 30 grams with every meal, and 10 to 15 grams of protein with snacks. Yes, that is a lot. We are not used to, but if you eat this way, you will really shift your body composition. This is not about looking skinny, but it's about shifting your body composition, having more energy in your body, and staying healthy throughout. Hydration is another thing that drops our energy levels, right? Keep your body fluid levels enough to be able to be functioning properly. Sweat works by pulling the water, right? It pulls the water from your blood through the skin. That's when we sweat, and we evaporate, and we cool down whenever we are sweating. So the more you sweat, the more blood plasma volume drops, and with less water in your blood, the blood becomes more viscous, more thick. So your heart starts to work harder when it's more thick. And that's when, your heart rate starts to go up, and your power goes down. The core body temperature rises, leading to more tiredness, more fatigue, and reduced performance. So, what does Dr. Stacy Sims recommend? She recommends water with a small amount of added sodium in it. That's a very good option for lower intensity training that lasts for less than 90 minutes. When you are training, plain water is not a very good option, she says. For sessions up to 90 minutes, 1/16 teaspoon of water, just a pinch of salt into your water, and 1 teaspoon of maple syrup into 16 ounces of water. This keeps the osmolality low, which allows for faster emptying of that gut. When it gets absorbed, emptying, and the greater fluid absorption happens in your small intestines, that bloatingness will be gone. And sodium, why are we using that maple syrup along with sodium? Because sodium is absorbed in the cells by hitchhiking on taking a ride with the glucose. That's why we are adding that to it. Plain water with meals, that is fine. That's the sodium. If you have sodium in food, most of the time you do add salt into your food. So for short resistance training, if you're doing just short spurts, then plain water is good enough. But if you are doing like exercise in very hot, heated environment, going on long endurance training, then you need that water with sodium and some maple syrup. So regarding, most of them say, how many cups of water should I be drinking? What's ideal for me? Everybody is different, so whatever you need, works for your body, listen to your body. And in general, if your urine when you wake up first thing in the morning is relatively pale urine, then you are off to a good start. And throughout the day, eating more of watery, these fruits, vegetables have lots of water. Watery fruits, vegetables, drinking tea, water, and low carbohydrate electrolyte drinks will also keep you hydrated. And if you feel really tired, most of the time midday we kind of feel tired, right? That's when your body, the water drops and the core temperature also drops. That's when, if you drink warm drink like herbal tea, things like that, that will help you pick up that energy level. You'll be more hydrated and stay energetic throughout the day. Sleep is another big thing that is neglected a lot. Without proper sleep, you cannot function throughout the day. Following a sleep routine is very, very important. Waking up at the same time every day and sleeping every day around the same time. Sometimes it's not possible, but whatever you can do right around that time, and cutting your gadgets, using your telephones, any of the gadgets 2 hours before you sleep. Your last meal 3 hours before you sleep. Keeping that stomach empty for at least 12 hours, the time restricted eating. Intermittent fasting does not work, so don't stay, be in a fasted state for a long period of time until 11, 12 o'clock. And don't go to do your workouts on empty stomach. It does not work for women. That is not for women. So do a time restricted. 12 hours is good. If you stop eating by 7 o'clock, you can eat after 7 a.m. in the morning. So in the morning, after you wake up, don't wake up with your phone. Just have a gratitude practice, be mindful, spend some time with yourself, and go outdoors before 10 o'clock. Get some sun into your body that will wake your body up. And at nighttime, don't turn the big fluorescent lights on, but turn the yellow light on to signal your body it's time to relax. You can also do some yoga, tai chi, any relaxing exercise, or taking a warm bath, keeping the bedroom nice and cool, using the bedroom only for sleep or sexual activity, not for other businesses, so that you're signaling bedroom is a time where space to be sleeping and resting. Um, so some of the supplements that you can include are like turmeric, creatine, vitamin D, vitamin B12, ashwagandha, which is an adaptogen, magnesium glycinate. These are some of the things that I include in my diet, and I do not add in here hormone replacement therapy. That hormones are very, very individual for every single person. So you need to see what works for you, what fits for you. Talk to your doctor. Go to a doctor who is a specialist in this. Not everybody and anybody cannot understand you, what you're going through, and they will question why you want hormones or any replacement. So go to a doctor, go to the NAMS website. There are some certified physicians in your area. Put the zip code, but at the same time, everybody, whoever you go to, even the certified ones, you need to see if they are a right fit for you. Because I did go to a certified person, but all they wanted to do was pump me up with their products, really did not care about all the other things. So you need to see, that's the reason you need to empower yourself with the knowledge so that you can make a change within you, how you want to live, how you want to thrive in this state. I just wanted to share a quote, that between a stimulus and the response, there is the space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth in freedom. So you have that choice. You got the knowledge now. You look at yourself where you are. Everybody is an individual, right? So you see what's best for you and you take those appropriate actions. What is best for you? That's what is best for you. You know your body better than anybody else. Nobody else knows you. So you need to make that right choice for you. So the pause way of living, something quick for me to remember is P is primarily plant based meals, right? A is anchoring because you are in this state of chaos. I need to anchor myself to be really being present, to understand what's going on, being mindful and aware of what's going on with me. And my goal is to strengthen myself, uplifting my muscles so that I am strong. And sound sleep is very, very important. And as I am in this process, being kind and ease myself into this, being kind to myself, self compassionate to myself. That is a key, because it's easy to be frustrated and get into the slippery slope. But I am always here to answer any of your questions, and I will be doing some challenges coming moving forward. So any of that you want, you're interested, please message me. I am always available to you. My mission is to help women live a healthy and a thriving life. And I would like to start some quick things that we can do to empower ourselves. So if you are interested, comments below, whether you're watching live or you're watching a replay anytime, message me. Any questions you have, message me. I would love to hear from you. We are all in this together. Let's all together come together in thriving and living a beautiful life. This is not the end of our road. We can really change our life the way we live, and that because this is the time most of them, you're at the peak of your profession and you're in the sandwich generation, maybe by taking care of your parents and your adult children, trying, juggling all of these different things. So your stress level is already high with managing all of this, and all of a sudden these menopausal symptoms come, and that makes it even more challenging. So anytime, I am here to support you, and any questions you have, please post in there, and let's all come together in so that we can be strong in living a healthy life. We are all here to support one another. You know, we are all in this together. So for that, just take charge. I want to say, take charge of yourself. So you have the power to take charge and do that. You don't have to struggle through during the habit change. It does take time, so that's when you need to be kind and compassionate to yourself. You need support, you need guidance, you need a coach to support you during that time. So I'm always available. Message me, and thank you for this session, for joining me in learning about how you can empower and thrive during this state. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for all of those who are going to come back and watch. Any comments, any messages, anything you want to share with me, and what are some of the things that are helping you, I would love to hear. We all can learn from each other. Learning never stops. When we are open to learning new things, that's when we grow. That's when we challenge our mind to grow more. So Thank you, and share your journey with me in the comments, and share what's working for you and what is not working for you. Let's all come together in thriving and moving forward. Thank you.